Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and I got back from my first Gen Con ever yesterday. My voice is still kind of gone, so sorry if I sound a little bit lower and raspier than I usually do. But yeah, I played a ton of stuff. I interviewed and talked with a ton of publishers about upcoming games. I have pictures of almost everything except for the stuff that I wasn't allowed to photograph. So I'm just going to talk through all of it. I'll have timestamps for the games if you want to jump to specific ones. Some of them I played, so I'll have more to say about it. Some of them I just saw the box and got to look at the rule book or a few of the components, so it might be a little bit quick. And disclaimer that I've already gotten review copies of some of these, and I think I'm getting review copies of a lot of the other ones. Too many. I came home with a lot of games. Some came while I was out. I have 30 games now I have to cover, and my school job starts back up in a few weeks, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about our first game, which is a special one to me. We played this throughout the convention. This is Flame and Fang. If you didn't see, this is Peter and my upcoming design. The first game we are publishing ourselves under our MVP Board Games label. That's why that is there instead of One Stop Co-op Shop. We're working with Escape Velocity Games. And yeah, this is I can't say too much about it because the Kickstarter is still probably not happening until early October. We're still locking in the date. We'll have videos and stuff eventually, but this is a campaign-based, solo cooperative, deck-building adventure game where you are dragons trying to recapture your home and defend yourselves from enemies and grow and prosper, that kind of thing. And here's an awesome picture. I got to hang out with a lot of great content creators. If you don't recognize these people, on the left playing the game is Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming. In the middle are Amy and Maggie from Thinker Themer. And on the right is Candice from Board Game Geek. And yeah, they all played. I also played with Henry Audubon, the designer of Cosmoctopus and Parks, and a bunch of other designer and content creator friends. And yeah, generally the response was awesome. So we're really happy with how the game is. People seem to really enjoy it. You can kind of see the components a bit there. But that'll be it for now. Again, more to come. Design diaries, videos, playthroughs, stuff from other content creators. More to come soon. But again, that's Flame and Fang, which is our own game. We'll get away from the selfish stuff and get to other games I saw that were not designed by me. So here's our first one. Wednesday night, Asmodee had an event where a bunch of content creators got to go in and just look at a bunch of games on a table and kind of talk about them. We didn't get to play any of them at that time. So this one is Mr. Torque's Arena of Badassery from the Borderlands series, and I'm a fan of that video game series. And this is, from my understanding, I didn't play it, an objective-based arena game. It is solo co-op only. You're moving around the tiles that you see here. You're getting tons of weapons because, of course, it's Borderlands. Tons of different guns and things, fighting different enemies. They have what seems to be a pretty simple, straightforward AI. You got skill trees that match the stuff in the video game. Kind of reminded me a bit of Zombicide in that, but seems to have more branching options. And like I said, the AI, at least as much as I saw, seemed pretty straightforward. There's a little system of picking which of your characters they focus on. I don't think everybody activates every turn. It's only as many as the things you see here, I think. But again, I haven't played it yet, so that's all I know for now about Borderlands. The next one to mention quickly, I didn't get to play this one, and it doesn't have a solo mode, so it isn't really even part of the channel, but I like Legend of the Five Rings. I used to play the old CCG. I used to play the RPG. So River of Gold. This is, man, that's a pretty big picture. Not showing much detail there. This is an upcoming Euro where you are individually as the different clans from the Rokugan L5R universe. You are traveling down the river with your ships. Those are the things going down the gold in the middle. And you're trying to pick up goods and sell them and, merchant stuff, but also mess with the other players. And it looks pretty cool. I like the setting, so I'm interested to see more of this. And then one I'm super excited for is Emerson's Metal Gear Solid. This was originally with IDW, but now CMON has brought it back from the dead. And again, a video game IP that I really love, just like Borderlands. Well, I like Metal Gear more than Borderlands. So this is kind of an early look at what the tiles might look like. It is sort of a stealth dungeon crawler kind of thing. And this one focuses on Metal Gear Solid 1. So you got Snake, Meryl, Otacon, and you can't really see it in this picture, but Gray Fox on the end. And from what I saw, they really capture the moments of the video game well. You have the Revolver Ocelot fight. And that's about all I know for now. I know Emerson's done really good stealth gameplay in the past. I think CMON's probably going to be better than IDW for actually developing the game and making it the best it can be. So yeah, definitely hope to play this one soon. Really excited about it. And then one more for the Asmodee event. Again, didn't get to play any of these, but Miss over Carcassonne. It's been out in Europe for a while, I think, and even won some awards or been nominated, but it's finally coming to the US. And yeah, I think Steve from the channel or maybe a few other people might have already played it and they said it was really good. I know nothing about it except that it's Carcassonne and it's solo co-op and it's supposed to be really fun and really well done and not just a tacked on mode. So definitely want to play this, but for now, that's about all I've got. So now getting into Thursday, the actual day of the con, I pretty much scheduled myself out for every day meeting with publishers and seeing games. So I didn't actually get to wander the floor that much, but I did see one while I was. It's called Agree to Disagree. You can kind of play it co-op. And the basic idea here is that you'll have categories like you see on the screen. So you pick a category, you name something in one of the categories. Like let's say for musician, I said CeeLo Green. And then you pick two of the other players, and you're trying to pick players such that one of them will say they like the thing and one of them will say they don't like it. Agree to disagree. So you don't want agreement for liking or disliking. And they each secretly pick which side of these little like blue and orange things you see. One of them has like an agree on the bottom. One of them has a disagree on the bottom. Or sorry, a like and a dislike. And then you slot them together, and only if you had opposing opinions will they slot correctly. So it's kind of like a little fun toy aspect. So fun little party game. Again, can play it co-op. I didn't get a copy. I don't know if I'll ever play this one again, but we played it for like a minute and it seemed pretty cool. I might seek it out just for my own purchase. So again, that was Agree to Disagree. Then another one I haven't played yet. I did get this little demo thing that you see on the screen here. This is Unfold. There's a new series coming from Alley Cat Games, and here's a couple more of them. So these are kind of like unlock, exit, those kind of things, except you're like unfolding them. Like you start out with just like one box and then boop, and now there's a new puzzle and boop, and now there's a new puzzle. And they said there will be like manipulatives and little things to play with inside of it. Sounds like a fun gimmick. I haven't tried the demo they gave me yet, but it sounds interesting on the face of it. Then another one from Alley Cat. Didn't get to play this at all. This is Magic Rabbit. And this is a cooperative game where you're trying to get the hats to match the rabbits. You can kind of see that like in the upper left of the picture here. So yeah, if you get the number one rabbit with the number one hat and number two with the number two and etc., then you win. But it's like limited communication. The cards are face down, sort of memory style. So it's like co-op, limited communication, memory. Maybe. That's about as much as I got about it yet. And then another one from Alley Cat Games, I think is the last one they showed me, is Starfighters Rapid Fire. There's a real-time competitive, like little spaceship thing with a dice placement to fire your systems, but also has a solo mode. I got a review copy of this and that Magic Rabbits one. I'll probably do Starfighters first. I like spaceship combat games. The solo mode is like you're attacking a base, but you can like fully predict what their actions are going to be. You see it at the beginning of the turn. So it seems like you should be able to like kind of plan things out and it won't feel too random, but it's frantic because you're rolling the dice trying to like finish it before a timer goes up. So we'll see. It seems pretty fun, but that's Starfighters, and that was the last, again, Alley Cat game I looked at. So the next meeting I had was with Scorpion Mask, and the first one we played, actually did play this one, was Sky Team, and I got a review copy, and man, I'm super excited to play this more. So this is a two-player only cooperative game where, as you can see here, you've got this board between you, and basically you're trying to balance like the angle of your plane, get the flaps and the wheels down, get the brakes activated, but you're also clearing the air, and it's a dice placement cooperative, but hidden, so you don't know what dice values the other player has, and the like combination of your dice is going to determine like the angle and the speed you're going. And they have a lot of different airports, a lot of like modular difficulty things to add in. So it seems like there's a ton of replay here. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to play this one more. Then I also tried out Turbo Kidz. This is a much goofier one, although I might do a video on it at some point. So this is competitive or cooperative, and you can see the finale of my race here. How it works is players are in pairs of two, and in co-op it's just the two of you playing. So I guess these are both two-player cooperative, but in like real time with a timer. And basically, one of you is blindfolded. That was me here. That's why my lines are so beautiful. And the other person is directing you to get you to not crash while also like holding your thumb like a joystick and moving it. Super crazy, but it was tons of fun. Definitely going to play this with my kids and see how that goes. And yeah, there are like character powers and lots of different tracks and lots of different like modes and challenges. And again, it can pretty much all be played co-op. A few things like the clothesline on the left here are competitive only, but it's mostly co-op friendly. And yeah, here's an example of a more complicated track where you're like dodging cars, going off jumps, going up and down tracks, trying to dodge like oil slicks, which will make you have to like draw in squiggles. It's just, yeah, an insane game in the Kidz franchise, like Zombie Kids, but I enjoyed it. And then the last Scorpion Mask game I saw but didn't get to play is Dead Cells, although I did a preview on the channel from Tabletopia, and it looks like it's mostly the same game. But they had like a nearly complete production copy. I mean, not really nearly, but it's getting there. So here's Stilt Village, Serenade that you use in solo play, one of the characters you can control, and like the boards where they slide things in looked really nice, kind of like Trudvang Legend where they had like, you know, cards that slide into things. And then they also at the booth had, here's a picture of it, this giant like boss mini. See, I really enjoyed, this was a weird one if you didn't see my preview. Like I didn't enjoy my first couple of plays, but then I loved it once I played it more. So very excited to play more Dead Cells and cool to see that it's coming along so well. And then next I met with Czech Games Edition, and they did inform me that there's an online version of Letter Jam available. And we played Letter Jam later on with some me and some Discord people. So that was fun. One of my favorite kind of casual deduction games. But then Czech Games, we mostly talked about Kutna Hora and like other things because they had already sent me the Lost Ruins of Arnak solo co-op expansion, and I'm going to cover that in the next couple of weeks, I hope. But yeah, this is a competitive-only Euro, so, not really up our alley, but it looks really cool. It's based in, like, Czech history. You're, like, mining things with these really neat pieces that you can kind of see here. You're building out things in your town. And probably the coolest thing, not this, is, like, your player board, and basically you're getting your own resource production going. But this was kind of the neatest thing that I saw for the game, where these like sliders move up and down. Then you also take away the cards behind them, and it creates like this interconnected, changing like marketplace. And like the actions you do like heavily affect the value of each good, like overproduction, underproduction, supply and demand. So it seemed really neat as a mechanic. Although again, and yeah, you're like building a cathedral too, which is pretty cool. But yeah, again, this is competitive only. I just thought it looked neat, and I didn't have much else to talk to with Czech Games Edition, so I thought I would chat about that. And then I went to see Dead Alive Games. They did a Lunar Rush that I did a video on that my friend Steve designed. And they have an upcoming one called Cyber Pet Quest. It's a very light like campaign adventure, but in a tiny box, and I think the price point's going to be pretty small. And basically, sorry for the glare. The lights are terrible in the hall to take pictures of. But you control these like 4 different little pets, and they each have different stats and different like costs of their actions. And they roll dice to get energy every turn to take the actions. And you're moving around on these like little like boards and completing little like story-based objectives. But the mechanics are very light and simple, although it is pretty challenging. At least the one scenario I played. So this one is still very early in development, but Cyber Pet Quest, definitely interested to see more of it. And then I went over to talk to Kidz a bit. They did give us a review copy of the new Princes of Florence, so I think Colin will have a solo playthrough of that one in the next few weeks. But they also showed me Blob Party, which is a cooperative kind of party game. They described it as just one backwards. So you are writing on little dry erase things like just one. You have a Play-Doh. Each of you has a piece of Play-Doh, and you have like an eye to make a little monster out of it. And then you have a combo of words from cards like soft TV, and you each write down one or more cards on your placard. And the idea is you're all trying to get the same thing, right? The exact same thing. And if you do, then your Play-Doh gets shoved together, and then you kind of work together as a team. So by the end of like 7 rounds or something, you have to get everybody's Play-Doh to coalesce together. You have to at least once say the same answer as each other and be thinking the same way. So yeah, I didn't get to actually play it, but it seems pretty fun. Seems up my alley since I like just one and other games like this. And they also told me about one called Unboxed. As you can see here, it's not out yet, but coming pretty soon. They compared it to Unlock and as Exit, kind of like the Unfold one. A lot of uns going on. But in this one, you're solving puzzles and riddles. But then when you do, they said that you like unlock little games you can play. So there's like 10 micro games in the game after you beat the riddles. She's pretty cool. I don't know, didn't get to try it, but I like the idea. And that takes us to Friday. First, I had a little meeting with Rock Manor Games. They had a suite near the stadium for GenCon. And they showed us Merchants of Magic. I think this is a reprint, like new edition of it, because I think it originally was out. This is a roll-in, right? And it has a solo mode, but basically there's a bunch of dice, and you're using them to fill in like the circles you see here, and that's unlocking different like traits you can enchant your weapons with. Like now you can make fire weapons, and now you can make spears, and that kind of stuff. And then that's going to go with the cards you see here, and like customers who want specific things, and if you can build those things, then you can capture them for extra victory points. And this new thing is adding like adventurers that like can go fight monsters and stuff. Kind of reminds me of like Role Player when they added the monsters in the first expansion. So it seemed pretty cool, and there's a solo mode here that seemed pretty straightforward. Then they also showed me Lawyer Up, which has a second season, I think they were calling it, coming soon. And I don't think the first season had solo, but this new one does. And they have like a variety of cases. In the main one, they showed you're a divorce lawyer trying to fight for like the assets for your side of the case. And then there are a bunch of like witnesses and things. Oh, wait a second. Is that Jeremy Howard? Hey, Jeremy, you're a card if you didn't already know. I'm sure you know. So yeah, that was pretty fun. And the Automa has a lot of different personality, and then they have like different rule cards for each case to kind of take care of the special things for that case. So it seems like there's a lot of variety in play there. Seems like a pretty fun thing to try out. Hoping to get a review copy of this one because I'm a big fan of like Phoenix Wright and other lawyer-related games. So I want to see how this one plays. And then I got a very, very early look at one called Stardriven Gateway, which is going to be competitive or solo co-op, different scenarios for different ones. And basically, it's like a space travel around, kind of like Firefly, Zaya-esque kind of game. But you're putting crew on like spaces, and then you use the crew to activate the stations of your ship. But then the crew also have like their own powers and stuff. It has like a little bit of like a deck building aspect in getting the crew, and you're like fighting space pirates and completing quests and things. So yeah, it seemed pretty cool. Again, very, very early prototype, and I didn't get to play it, but what I saw was interesting. Next, I was in a little meeting with Off Duty Ninja, which represent a whole bunch of companies. The one that I was most interested in is Devere. I don't know. I haven't played any of their games before, but they had one there called White Castle or The White Castle. They said I wasn't allowed to show any of the components yet, but I looked inside and man, it's beautiful. And it looks like, so it's got a solo mode, by the way. It looks like it's a dice placement, but it's got this interesting mechanic where the dice are like on a bridge and you can take from one side or the other. So you can see kind of the order the dice might come out in, but it's not every die is accessible. And then you can put dice on spaces, but how it works is if the value of the die you place is higher than the spot, then you get money. And if it's less than the spot, then you pay money. But then that also affects like the other people. So, I'll see how it works, but it certainly looked like a beautiful game. And then what I'm super, super excited about is Sail, because as I was saying earlier, I like trick-taking games. And this one is cooperative, 2-player only. So I got to kind of dig around in the box a little bit. I didn't have time to play it. But yeah, so you're playing cards that have these different icons. But besides that, it's still a trick taker, like following, highest card of the lead suit winning. But based on the combos of these icons, you're going to move your ship in different ways, which will matter because in the scenarios you have different obstacles and things you have to achieve and places you have to meet. So you're trying to like outrun enemies and get around like pirate ships and krakens and that kind of stuff. And the components look beautiful, the meeples and stuff, so I'm super excited for this one. Love 2-player trick-taking games like Fox and the Forest Duet, and of course the crew for more than 2 players, so more of that is always good. And then this one I didn't get to play, sadly, and it's competitive only, but y'all know if you've seen like my Exceed or BattleCon or Sakura Arbs or any of that stuff that I love, 1v1 battlers. This one is called React, The Arts of War. It's from the same team that did Genshin Terror that I covered recently. And I did, after I got home, pledge or pre-order, I guess at this point, the set, because I think it's coming pretty soon. So yeah, it looks really beautiful. Again, I didn't take any pictures during the play because it was some random people playing. I don't want to interrupt them. But I love these fighting games. I hope I like this one too. Will I do a solo mode for it? I don't know. We'll see how much I enjoy it, but certainly it looks beautiful. Okay, and then maybe the biggest one I'm going to talk about, so get hyped. I did get to play an early build of the Elder Scrolls, the Chip Theory one. And so this is what your player board looks like. And if you saw the previews, you already know about this, but you're building up your stats from the left and from the right in different ways, and then like they can't pass each other. So like here, if I built up my bow skill, which is in the upper right too much, then I wouldn't be able to level up my health as much, and like the costs get more expensive as you go. And yeah, you pick a class, you pick a race, and then you can like add on as many skill trees as you want. It's super open-ended skill building, so it's not as unique as like the gear locks in Too Many Bones, because this game is very much like Too Many Bones, but it offers way, 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 way more customization than you would usually have. And then you're like moving around a map. This reminded me a lot of Hoplomachus Victorum. There's a ton of different quests and a bunch of different areas, so it just seems like so much content in the final game. I don't know, they're crazy to do all of it, but yeah, so you're trying to like, as you're moving, you're reaching these different spots, and that's going to determine whether you have a combat encounter or a non-combat encounter if you get to a town and you can rest. And then yeah, like I said, you have these missions and they're multi-parters, so I think each one is 3 or 4 parts, so it's going to be like multiple sittings to actually finish the entire quest line. And you have like cities that are unique and have little special bonuses for when you visit them. And lots of really cool items. None of them had art yet, but still the effects were neat. But again, there's a lot of Too Many Bones here. Like you'll have little encounters like this, and there'll be combat or not combat. They'll also change like the weather where you're traveling. And you'll have options. You got a different amount of experience. And very cool, the experience, how much experience you've earned, that's what's going to determine how strong the encounters are, which fixes the problem, as many people see it with Too Many Bones, that if you lose but the day keeps advancing, that you have to keep on fighting more and more enemies. Here, if you lose a battle, you don't get any better, but they don't get any better either. And here's an example of like a basic battle. We fought a bear and a snake. One of us got defeated. It was super tough, but we did pull out the win there. And again, the skills are just amazing. And yeah, if you haven't seen, again, any of the previews, another huge change from Too Many Bones is that all of your dice get exhausted, but then you pull them back with like a refresh stat every turn. So attack dice and defense dice are not inherently better. In fact, they're worse than skill dice, because like my bow skills were doing cooler things than my attack dice. So if you don't like how Too Many Bones kind of pushes you to do the basic skills too much, definitely not the case here. And then at the end of our quest, at least, we had a delve, which was like exploration-based kind of dungeon crawling. That was a lot longer, like probably as long as like 2 fights. And it was super tough. We didn't quite have time to finish, so I played almost an entire game in like an hour and a half. And yeah, it was epic. I definitely, I hate to say it, but this could maybe not replace Too Many Bones because the gear locks are way more unique than the characters in this one. But almost everything they did, I think, is an improvement on the Too Many Bones system, at least for my taste. And yeah, here's how the encounters work for the delving. You're like revealing cards, and they'll tell you which like new piece to add. And then like if you move to like another side of the tile, then you can add more stuff. And they'll tell you like what spawns and yeah, all that kind of stuff. And then I also got to play 20 Strong, and they gave me an early copy of this one, so I should actually have a video coming next week, I think. I'm really enjoying it, but just to talk through it, if you don't know about it, there's 3 different sets. There's Half-Machina Victorum, Too Many Bones, and Solar Sentinels, and Solar Sentinels comes with the base set, but each of them kind of plays a bit differently. You have 17 dice and 3 dice for your stats. That's the 20 dice. They're very much like Hoplo dice, so the red die on the left always hits. The yellow dice on the right only hit 2 out of 6 times. And you're using as many dice as you want. You have a unique character with special abilities and different stats. And you're fighting in the Solar Sentinels, which is the only one I've played so far. You have like 3 stacks of enemies, and you pick which one you want to fight each turn. And there's a ton of variety in the abilities they have and the limitations they place on your turn, and especially in the items and like upgrades you get when you defeat them. And then you can also add in missions to make it even more challenging. And yeah, it was just so, a little bit of spoiler. I thought it was great my first play, but I do need to play it more. Too Many Bones, you're like building up fights that get harder and harder, like in Too Many Bones, until you can fight the Tyrant. And then you can also do like non-combat encounters. So that one seems very different than Solar Sentinels, although I haven't played it yet. And you have a bunch of your favorite gear locks in there. And they also, this is showing that you can use some of the people universal, I forget what they're called, your heroes, I think. You can use universal heroes, so I can like bring a Victorum hero into Too Many Bones, or bring a Too Many Bones person into Solar Sentinels. But yeah, the Too Many Bones ones also use misses to slot into their backup plans and get like special powers, so that's pretty neat. You didn't have anything like that in Solar Sentinels. And then Victorum, you are yourself a hero, but you're also fighting the other heroes as mini bosses, just like in the game. You're kind of like doing like a little pyramid like you see here, and fighting your way up to get to the final battle. So yeah, again, I've only played Solar Sentinels, but my one play was excellent. It was very, like, incredibly tactically engaging for how little time it took to play and how, like, clean a system it was. So I'll have a playthrough of that next week, review probably a week or 2 after that. Definitely going to dig into 20 Strong more, but that was it for Chip Theory. And then Saturday morning, I met with Incredible Dream. They did Kinfire Chronicles, which I think it's definitely done, because I think they might even been selling it, or I don't know. Anyway, Steve played it, enjoyed it. Colin played it, enjoyed it. Barrett enjoyed it. So I think they're going to be doing an updated video. They still hate the initiative system, just like I hated the initiative system. They didn't change it, but we all think it's pretty easy to house rule, and the rest of the game is pretty cool, so we'll see how that goes. But let's not talk about that. They had 2 other games to show. Kinfire Delve, Vainglory's Grotto. I think this is coming in like a month or 2, and I think straight to retail. So this is just kind of on the 20 Strong vibe. This is a little like dungeon crawl, like solo or 2-player game where you're fighting. You have like 4 encounters to choose from. You are playing cards from your hand and supporting each other, very similar to how Kinfire Chronicles worked if you watch that preview. And you're trying to like dig down. So these are the cards you play, and then you roll some dice to like fill out. So like here, to defeat the Great Stag, I need a 6 red in the upper left. So I played Fearless to get 3. My buddy played Sneaky Feet. The value 1 at the bottom is boosting me to 4. And then I rolled 2 dice, and the white is a wild, so I got to 6. All right, so that's like the idea. You're playing cards being boosted by each other and also rolling dice to try to match the value. And then if you defeat them, you kind of dig down into the deck. Seems pretty cool. Didn't get to play it yet, but I like the idea. And then they also had very early, this is totally prototype, Boundless Stride into the Denlands. The art looks beautiful. There's like an adventure game where you're like little animals going off and fulfilling quests. You're moving on a board like this, and they said, I think I have a picture of it. Yeah, so you have each of these characters, and if you see the icons on the left, those are like the movement tokens they have, and this is a lot like the Robin Hood game from Cosmos that Jason covered, where you like place your tokens on the board, and that's how far you can move as you try to reach these things and also like stop these things and investigate. Again, very early, but I like the idea of it, and the art is just beautiful. Oh yeah, and here we go. I knew I had a better picture of it. This is an example of somebody moving. So like if they were at the beginning, and it's all terrain based, you can only use like green on green. You can only use blue on blue. The white is wild, so like you might always be able to use all your movement, but seems pretty neat. And then you have like helpers, and you have like things to manage and crises to put out while you're trying to accomplish your missions. I don't know. Then I met up with, I think his name is Matthew, who runs Envy Board Games. He's publishing like a set of little tiny games, and I was just trying them out to see if I would cover them. So first one is called Sirens. There's 1 to 2 players. The 1 player is solo. The 2 players competitive. You're trying to get the most points. In solo, you're trying to beat Orpheus. And you're doing it by putting out cards like you see here that have musical notes. But by putting like the colors and the hearts and like a bunch of other things, you're going to score different points. And then how it works is you have 2 cards. You give 1 to Orpheus and you keep 1 for yourself. So it's a consistently tense kind of choice. And then one of the neatest things, this was kind of the hook that got me interested in the game at first, you can scan the cards that you built over the course of the play and then scan them into this app, and then it'll play the music that you've created, like play the little piece of Siren song you've made, which I just think is super fun. So I thought that one was a really nice game. I did say I would do a preview for it because I did enjoy it quite a bit. And he also showed me Defrag. And this one, you're supposed to be like defragging a hard drive. So you're trying to like rotate and move these cards around to stack them on each other. So that's whatever is most north, the icon, like you're seeing here, that they're stacked on top of each other. I got to play an entire game of this. It's like I played an entire game of Sirens. They were both like 15, 20 minutes. And yeah, I thought this one was like really excellent, fun, action-based decision-making and tactics too. So covering both of these, but they look great to me. 2 of the 3 games that'll be on this crowdfunding campaign. So you'll see it on the channel eventually. I also got to play the new version, like pretty much a new game, although there's a lot of stuff brought over, of Defenders of the Realm. It's called Legends Retold. And yeah, here's a picture of the map. So you're still defending Monarch City in the middle. If you haven't seen Defenders of the Realm, it used to be like a pandemic-ish game, but you were like fighting minions and running around with different powers and stuff. So here's an example. This is what I played, Farah of the Amazons. I basically wanted to hurt myself to get rage, which would let me modify my dice and fight better. So she was really cool. And then like here's another character, Vitalia, who was like a rogue. And she was able to like get sneak attack, and like if she wasn't with enemies, she would build up and be able to do huge attacks. So the character variety seemed great. The bosses are kind of familiar to the old Defenders of the Realm like powers, but also very different. The components were ridiculous, especially for a prototype. Like just look at these miniatures and things here. And then like the things on the table, they had like little inns. I don't know what the actual crowdfunding campaign will look like. They had like a castle wall for Monarch City. But yes, it was certainly impressive components. I didn't love all of the gameplay. They have this threat track that builds up, and like the more actions you do, the more bad stuff it does to you. I didn't love that. Like I just wanted to kind of have 3 actions to turn instead of feeling like if I did more, I'd get punished for it. But yeah, so far seems really cool, and the characters are super unique. So definitely excited to see this one in action more. And I did get to play about half a game, not a full game. Yeah, and here's when Peter's character died horribly after unwisely fighting the demon when he wasn't ready. So now you do come back to life, but of course some bad things happen. You lose some momentum. Okay, and then I think this was the final day that I was there because we left Sunday morning. Saturday morning, I had a meeting with Steamforge Games. Most of the stuff they talked about I can't discuss. I decided an NDA and stuff. But they did show an pretty close to production version of Resident Evil 1. If you haven't seen, I loved Resident Evil 3. I thought it was like a great use of the IP. Resident Evil 1 looks even better. It has like exploration and more like tense resource management, a little bit more of a feeling of horror. So yes, I'm super excited for this. And then we also talked a bit about the new Dark Souls, like the revised rules, because there's 2 sets out, I think, now. And also a little bit about Elden Ring and other upcoming things that I can't mention. But yeah, seems cool. I again liked Resident Evil 3, so I want to play Resident Evil 1, and we'll see what else comes of it. Next, I met with North Star Games, and I got a review copy of the new solo mode for Oceans, because after my preview, they made a ton of changes, and it looks way better. So I think I will do probably a review for that and let you know how it is. We also talked about Nature, though, which is their upcoming one. Not sure if there'll be a solo mode yet, but fingers crossed, they think they're going to try to get one. And it looks pretty cool. It's a lot like Evolution, but trying to be more modular, and like you can pick different biomes. Here we go. Like you can add in certain decks in a very like smooth way. Like if you use Jurassic, it's way nastier of a game. If you use Flight, it's a much more friendly game. So you can kind of like tailor it to your preferences. And it says it's going to be like disaster decks you can add in, and you can always choose which deck you want to draw from. So first of all, you don't have to use all the decks, but also it doesn't like add a ton of setup time. Like if you want to draw a Rainforest card, you can draw a Rainforest card. Okay, another one that I just kind of walked by because Colin had played it, and I think maybe Barrington Steve as well, is Forbidden Jungle. This is the 4th game in the Forbidden series. You know that most of us at a one-stop co-op shop didn't like Forbidden Sky, the 3rd entry. But Forbidden Jungle looks like a combo of Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert, both of which I enjoy. It has some of the island in that the tiles are getting destroyed and going away. You even destroy them yourself sometimes. But it has some of desert in that you're manipulating the rows and columns to make things happen to win the game. But otherwise, it's a forbidden game. You still have the characters, like the health you're tracking and all that kind of stuff, special powers. But then there's also like these aliens that are spawning. So this looks super exciting. I'm hoping I get to play it. I know Colin got a copy, bought one. So maybe if I don't get a review copy, then he could do something for it. But again, that was Forbidden Jungle. And then to show you really cool, a little selfish thing for a second again, Kess Games, which, so if you don't know, Peter and I designed Mega Man Adventures with Blacklist, but then they've kind of been doing whatever they're doing. So in a very fortunate turn of events, Kess Games that had been like connected to Blacklist a little bit, or like had worked with them for Mega Man Adventures, they seem to have taken over like all the stuff. So they've actually gotten the game to pre-orders, and they've actually, gotten the game at GenCon and stuff. So yeah, they had a booth set up. They were showing it. I got to see people playing one of our games and having a good time with it. So that was awesome. That's Peter on the left, by the way, if you don't watch the streaming channel. But getting back to actual games, the last one I played in my last meeting, this was with Chaosium, was Horror on the Orient Express, which is from the designer of Nemesis and This War of Mine and Frostpunk. Well, one of the designers. A lot of those are co-designs. So very excited for this one. I got to play it. Almost a whole game. So again, these are very, very prototype, like super early version of the game, but you're on like a 3D train. There's passengers there. Most of them represented by dice, but the miniatures are like suspects you're investigating. And basically your whole train's been transported to the Dreamlands. And you're trying to travel along the track, trying to survive, but at the same time, you have to find out which of the suspects are cultists. You have to protect the dice, the passengers. You have to get rid of monsters by pushing them off the train. And for the suspect part, you're doing like kind of a push your luck mechanic where you're drawing tokens. You're trying to flip over their things to find out if they're cultists or not, these little tokens here. One of the coolest things is that each of the characters is super unique with these different action tiles you see here. And then you can upgrade your actions or get new ones. You can also, if you see in the bottom left, get spells that like can drive you insane but do crazy abilities. And then yeah, here's the push your luck thing I was mentioning. You pull tokens one at a time, kind of like Ink and Gold, Diamant. You're trying to get pairs of the good ones, the ones that are fully light background, without getting a pair of the black icons on the left of the mixed ones. There's also a vampire that's hunting people on the train. There's also monsters pulling people off the train. And then you get these crazy artifacts and books that have ridiculous abilities, like the Necronomicon here, or yeah, I mean, just awesome stuff. Like the theme is dripping from this one. The tactical and strategic choices were incredibly tense. It's super challenging right now. I hope they make it a little bit easier. Right now it's like as hard as Frostpunk, and that's saying something. But yeah, those were the games I saw, and at least at this point, if I had to name like my top three, I'd probably say Sky Team for a lighter one, Horror on the Orient Express for a tougher one, and then maybe Elder Scrolls. Those are probably the top three games for me. Now, to be fair, those are all ones that I played, so some of the ones I saw might be my favorite games, but I didn't have enough confidence to say that. And then 20 Strong is great too from the one play I have so far. So yeah, a lot of awesome stuff, and I have a ton of review copies to get through in the coming weeks, so I'm going to do my best. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know if you went to Gen Con, what interests you the most, or what games you want to hear more about, or which games you're most excited to see. And thanks for watching. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.